say Kiln stuff is here. Should have some cones for the cone sitter. Some other Kiln furniture. Ugh. 4 pounds of Kiln wash. Ooh, peephole plug. 50 small cones. 04. Now that is what we need. And then it should break. I don't like how they come together like that. There we go. Little cone sitter cones. Okay, what is this? It's like in an air bubble. Oh! These are the shelf feet. That's funny. Ugh. It's a lot of fuss. It's probably necessary. Don't want them to break on the way here. Man, they're wrapped up. There we go. 3 little feet to go under the bottom shelf. Those are 1 inch tall. It doesn't look like a whole inch. I mean, I trust that it is. Your eyes play tricks on you when something is wider than it is tall. And Kiln shelves. They packed this really well. I'm very happy. It's good, my Kiln's small. I have a cutting board that looks like this. Now I need to build a thing to keep all the Kiln shelves on. You know, all 2 of them. Oh, that's funny. It has a number. I don't know how that's stamped on there. The one on the other shelf isn't as legible. You know what this means. We can test fire the Kiln. So I need to get it set up and get a firing schedule. I have 2 other cones that should be coming in, but this is a 04, which is a good bisque temp for low fire or mid fire glazes. Glazes that are low fire or mid fire will usually say on the bottle like bisque to 04 and then glaze fire to 06 or whatever. So this will be a good test. This is the shelf that was in here when we bought it. Notice how thin that is. That's really too thin for pottery. It's gonna warp really fast. Now, I bought 3 of these because we're gonna have a solid shelf that goes on the bottom. Only needs 3, but that shelf hasn't come in yet. Once I get a firing schedule written out and figure out what time I want to start, we'll get going. Alright, so it's the next day. I actually just finished mowing the lawn. We are going to be starting the Kiln today. It is before 10 a.m. A bisque fire, which is what we're test firing temperature to, usually takes 10 to 12 hours. So we just want to get this set up, and I want to make sure that I'm running it throughout the day. If it was self-managed, like it turned up its own heat and everything, I'd be okay running it overnight. I trust those electronics that way. But because I need to come out here and constantly check on it, and I need to make sure that in the end it does turn off, I'm not comfortable running it overnight. And I also, because we're we don't actually have any pots in here, there's no need to run this extra long. Like, I'm gonna make this more close to the 10-hour than the 12-hour time. We can't ramp it up too fast, like it's just not built for that, and that wouldn't be a true test. But I don't see a need to candle it for a long time. So candling is just where you're warming it up, and we're actually gonna take the peepholes out and run it with the lid propped open. Future Hannah here to give past Hannah a hard time about not having her head in frame, and to give a better explanation of candling. So candling is an optional first step when you're bisque firing. It's not a thing in glaze firing, because the point is to drive off extra moisture out of your clay so that it doesn't cause your pottery to crack or explode once water reaches that boiling temperature. So when water reaches the temperature where it wants to turn to vapor, if it's trapped in the clay, it can't escape fast enough, and that causes your pot to explode because the water's trying to get out. So when you're candling, you hold that temperature right below that point, right below boiling or vapor temperature, so that the water is slowly leaving, it's slowly being burned off, evaporated, but it's not reaching that critical point where it causes your pottery to explode. And this saves a lot of potters, especially in a public studio where you're handling other people's artwork. You really want to take good care and make sure that there's not any extra moisture in their pottery, so that their stuff doesn't blow up. You don't want it to be your fault. As a teacher, I often candle for 2 hours. I also am very vigilant in making sure my student work is dry before I put it in the kiln. I did my first firing blow up a couple of student works, and I felt very bad about that. But I learned from it, and now I candle my student work. With my own personal work, I don't worry about it as much, because I know that my pottery gets dry, and I know how to make the clay thickness even, which is another contributing factor to holding water. But now I think I'm getting a little long-winded in my explanation, so back to past Hannah. Let's look at the hardware here for running and timing the sitter. Okay, so one thing I forgot about yesterday, and I remembered after doing some research for timing this, is that when you lift this to put the cone in, there is a button and a lever on the outside that is affected by this. So let me change views. Now, you always want to remember to put in your kiln sitter cone right at the beginning, because if you wait till you've loaded it, you'll probably forget, or at least I forgot half the time, and then you gotta unload to get back to the sitter. Sorry about my dog. He's found something, I guess. You see this right here? This little lever goes up and down. When I lift this, this is the sitter inside moving that. So I need to lift this and put that down, and then push this button in. And see, when the cone melts, it opens this up, and there's a little thing here that goes in this hole that releases this button, and that is the kill switch, turns off the kiln. So no matter where the timer is set, when that cone melts, this drops and turns it off. So that's why it's very important, get your cone in there. So lift this, put the cone in, push this button, okay? Then, you've got a timer. Now when I was in college, they told us just to crank it all the way up. So this is one of the things we're testing, is if this works. So I'm gonna crank it all the way up to, looks like it just goes to 19. There's a 20, but the little dash is only going to my 19. We're gonna start on low, both of these. And I'm actually gonna take the peepholes out at this point, or the plugs out. And I'm going to prop the kiln lid with a piece of kiln furniture. I'm using a long piece so that I can grab onto that. I have to bring some ovens out here. I need some heat gloves. Okay, I don't know if I see any light here. I'm wondering if that light should come on. Wouldn't this be the best video if it just didn't work? Yeah, I feel like those lights should come on. I guess we'll see if it starts to warm up. All right, so in 2 hours, we're gonna come out here and see if this has gotten warm. Test firing. Okay, new info. Just realized that when we got the electricity installed, we didn't turn on all the breakers to the things since we didn't have them plugged in. So I'm gonna turn on the breaker. So now we should see something. There we go. We got light, we got buzzing sound. I was reading about that buzzing sound online. It said it might be like dust burning off of the internal workings here, and that it doesn't matter. So to me, it's like, yes, that's good, it's on. All right, let's get out of here and let this do its thing. Okay, we're out here for step 2, where I'm going to close the lid and turn on the top elements. So earlier when I was recording, I turned on both of these knobs, and when you're starting off with a manual like this, you really want to start with just the bottom knob and let the heat rise. But on step 2, we turn on the top to low, and we're going to plug up the bottom peephole and close the lid, but I'm going to leave the top peephole open. We've got some good heat coming off of it, and it does smell like a kiln. That's hot. Shoot. I don't have any kiln gloves. Yep. Maybe just going with the lid open. All right, but that's it. Step 2, plug the bottom hole, close the lid, turn the heat on the bottom. It's running good so far. Okay, we're out here for the next step, turning everything up to medium, and I'm gonna put the plug in the last peephole. There's definitely like that sweet kiln smell in the air. It wasn't strong before, but like when I opened the door to get in here, it was like pretty strong. Not like hit you in the face, but somewhere around there. Peephole. And then turn everything to medium. Now, in the past when I've done this, we've done like turn the bottom to medium, come back in a couple hours, turn the top to medium, but again, I'm not worried about going slow, so this is slow enough. All right, 3 to 4 more hours, we'll be out here on high. Oh, I should have looked in the hole. Oh, we got a nice red glow going. This is the same color as the buttons out here. Okay, see if I can get there's my cone. And there's a second line, that's the thing hanging down from the top. I don't know why that's like that, but there we go. We're red hot. Woo! It is immediately hot in here, much hotter than outside. Oh, we're done. All right, it's just a bisque fire, so we didn't have to go up to high heat. Nice. All right, so, humid. You can see here that the cone melted. So that pop this button, and our timer is over here between, wait, is that right? Ooh, that's not good. The timer did not run at all. Huh, that is not good. Okay, sorry for that footage. All right, so that is good to know. We may need to order some replacement parts for the timer. I'm not sure what to do about that, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn these knobs to off. Now this feels quite warm. Ooh, that's hot. Like I could burn myself on that, and that's probably not good. All right, it has been run. Let's see. Yeah, that's too hot. So, I don't have like any fire gloves, so I will be looking at all the cones tomorrow after it's had time to cool. Okay, good stuff. See you tomorrow. Alright guys, the kiln has had plenty of time to cool off, so now it's time to check it out. Oh, that may not be good. The look in the kiln. What do you think about that cone?
They're not droopy like they're supposed to be.
Yeah. So the kiln sitter cone
Worked?
is bent in half like it's supposed to be.
Okay.
So that's good. I was reading that sometimes this little cone bends before it's actually reached temperature. So it's possible that it didn't reach full temperature in other areas. So that's interesting. Yeah, this barely bent at all. So you can definitely tell that this cone was fired because it's a darker color. And it's a little bent, but it's not nearly enough. So that could give us problems when we're glaze firing if we don't reach the actual temperature. Okay, so this one down in here looks pretty much the same as this one. So we got even temperature, just not full temperature. So that's one good thing.
So it was supposed to fire to 04?
Yes.
How do you set that?
This.
That
Yeah.
is supposed to be an 04.
Yeah, so what this tells me is that what I was reading online was that we need to get a higher temperature small cone. Now, it doesn't actually matter for bisque if we get all the way up to 04, right? Because you can bisque
Right.
to a lower temperature.
But it definitely matters for the final firing.
For the glaze firing, yeah, we may need to cancel some cone orders and change them. But I guess we'll just see. We'll have to do a bisque firing in here and see what happens with actual clay. Okay, so it was a successful firing. We've got even temperature, if not reaching the full heat that we were intending. But this little piece of clay that I put under the cone to hold it and protect the kiln itself was greenware, and now it is fully bisqued. So we're good. Like, we reached a good bisque temperature, and the heat was even. So some takeaways here are that we're just gonna have to order some other kilns to test and see what temperature we're actually reaching, and we may have to do a little bit more refining work and learning this kiln before we start doing some serious glazing. Because while bisque is less finicky, you know, you can reach bisque temperatures 06 to 04. With glazing, we'll want to hit those higher temperatures and definitely hit more consistent temperatures to make sure that we're reaching, or that the glaze is fully vitrifying and fully fired. But it's a working kiln, so we just got to learn its quirks. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. So a few days ago, I realized I hadn't seen the rabbits in a while, and I went back to their hole to see if they were still living there. And looking at it, it looked pretty grown over. There's not a clear path anymore. You know, doesn't seem used. It's still in there. So a few days ago, I'm thinking, oh, they've moved, they've grown up, they've moved on, right? Gotten somewhere where there's not constantly a dog howling. And then today, I was watering my garden and I noticed this. So this is all weeds that I need to work on, but notice that big bare patch? That is a bunny trail, my friends. Right down into what appears to be a new entrance. So I got my husband out here and I was like, look, I think they just moved. I don't think they actually left. And he said, what if it's connected? So from here to way over there, where the mint is growing past all of these baby trees. Is that possible? So if you know anything about rabbits and you could tell me, let me know in the comments. Can they have a tunnel that long? Could they be living under my entire garden? That's like 12 feet from one entrance to the other. So let me know what you think. See ya.